This is the Build Your Path podcast, where we explore how people get into their careers in the built environment. Today's guest is Darryl Richardson. Darryl is the project executive at Plano-Coudon and has been in the industry for nearly 15 years. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by CapX Advisory Group. Build with confidence. Welcome on into the Build Your Path podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pine, and my guest today is
Darryl Richardson, project executive for Plano-Coudon Construction.
So, Darryl, thank you so much for joining the show. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys thinking enough of me to actually invite me to be a part.
Absolutely. So, for our listeners, just if you don't mind, giving an introduction of who you are and what you do.
So again, my name is Darryl Richardson, and I'm a project executive for Plano-Coudon Construction here in Baltimore. Plano-Coudon, as a company, we have two divisions within the company: a large projects division and a small projects division. And the first 13 and a half years that I was here, I was with the large projects division, where I did a number of jobs for, that were about 50,000 to 23 million. I did UMBC Terrace and Hillside Apartments and Community Center. I've done the Baltimore City Animal Services over in Cherry Hill. I did the Bogomoley Library, Langsdale Library at the time for University of Baltimore. In the last couple of months, I've kind of transitioned over into this project executive role with our small projects division. And our small projects division does, projects as small as 5,000 up to $2 million. And I'm kind of growing in that role as, overseeing a number of PMs that oversee, they manage roughly, 4 to 5 to 6 jobs themselves. So I'm involved in all of their jobs. And then I oversee, a couple admin coordinators and an accountant in our small projects division. So I guess on a personal note, I live here in Baltimore. I'm married with 2 girls, and I got a third girl on the way in January 2022.
Congrats.
So that's me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you just reeled off a bunch of impressive projects that you've worked on in the past. Can you kind of explain how you got to where you are now as a project executive?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a product of PG County Public Schools. Back then we had a TAG program, Talented and Gifted, and I was a part of that. And I know now a lot of high schools have a magnet, which is kind of different what I grew up with. But a lot of engineers will tell you that growing up I was good in math and science, and I was, but my story is a little bit different than that. My father was an engineer for the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, WSSC, and my uncle he worked in the Navy Yard down in Washington D.C. and the two of them had a home improvement business that on the weekends or after school during the times where I wasn't going to track practice or football practice or had a football game or track meet, they had me out working with them with the home improvement business that they had, building decks, redoing people's homes, building people's kitchens, finishing people's basements. And that's kind of where my engineering background started, just being able to work with my hands and understanding how things come together. And I kind of took that and took my talents in my academic successes and went to Morgan State. And at Morgan, I did a couple internships. I did my first one with the WSSC with my father. Figured out that I didn't want to deal with anything that had to do with wastewater treatment. I did go to Gilbane my sophomore year internship. I did internship out at Rhode Island with Gilbane, and then I actually went with the Army Corps Engineers in Wiesbaden, Germany for a summer. So, I kind of realized that I wanted to get in construction just based on, everything that I had done growing up. And, I didn't want to go with either one of those companies when I graduated. And I found a company like Plano-Coudon that was small right here based in Baltimore. And, I started here in 2007 after I graduated with a civil engineering degree from Morgan. Started out as a project engineer and went from project engineer to project manager to senior PM to project executive now.
So you just talked a little bit about your father and how he tried to, guide you through your high school process, your college process, have you had a mentor in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly, my father is my number one mentor. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he tells it to me straight. You know, and whether I like it or not, he's always there for some good sound advice. So you know, I'll say that growing up, I definitely looked to my father because he was an engineer as well to guide me in the right direction. But outside of my father, I definitely I played sports, so those coaches that I growing up were definitely mentors. Those coaches and just sports in general are going to teach you to just work for everything you get. You're going to fight for every inch, and that I've taken with me. My entire life. I'm gonna work hard, and I'm gonna outwork the person next to me. Try to outwork the person next to me at all times. But just in my professional life, there's people here at Plano-Coudon that I definitely call mentors, like Cliff Milstead and Thomas Koch. Here they're project executives or division managers, or they have their titles, and they're always open to guide you or give you some advice on how you should do things with specific jobs or just do things in your personal life. And then I had Andrew Hines. He was here as a project manager when I first started as a project engineer, and he was my number one and first mentor here. He told me, kind of everything I know, how to manage a job from the beginning, pre-construction to the end, and get through the closeout. So I owe him a lot, in that I still keep in contact with him sometimes. I don't speak to him much. I think he's at JMT now, but I really appreciate the guidance he gave me when I first started.
Yeah, and I'm sure too, like you mentioned, being on some sports teams, it definitely helps, teach you to work together well with
Mm-hmm.
others. And, that also lends itself well to leadership too.
Right.
So I like to hear this answer from every guest that I interview, and it seems to be like somewhat of a different answer every time. Talk about your passion for working in the construction industry.
So I actually love construction. Again, it started back, when I was a kid with my father and my uncle. But I love construction in the fact that, every job is different. You
Yeah.
have, I would say, some of these contractors do a McDonald's, and that's all they do is a McDonald's. But they
Mm-hmm.
realize that every McDonald's is different. Every project is different. Though it might look the same, you have your different challenges with every job. And that's what I love about construction. No matter what, the job is different. And the other piece of that is that the job will end. No matter, it could be 4 weeks, it could be a year, it could be 3 years, but you always have a job that ends and you get to move on to the next one. And in construction, it's nice to see a job start, a job end, and be able to drive past it, while you're driving around Baltimore or wherever you're working. You can see your accomplishments. I enjoy, driving past the jobs that I've done, telling my kids that, daddy helped on that job or daddy managed that job. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other industries, you don't get that. You kind of do the same thing for 30 years and that's what you do. But Plano-Coudon and just in construction in general, you get to do a lot of different things and a lot of different types of buildings and see a lot of different things.
And I've heard that before too. Like, just people just have so much pride when they can like point to a building and say, "Oh, I did that," or "I worked on that building," or "I, had a hand in that project somehow."
Mm-hmm.
And talk about a little bit more about Plano-Coudon, how that's been for your career, how rewarding that is for you.
So I've been here 14 years, so it's obviously something that I like about staying here. A lot of my friends have moved on from company to company, but I stayed here because when I graduated, Plano-Coudon took a chance on me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forever grateful for that. But Plano-Coudon, I came here because I know it was a small company, and a lot of these larger companies, you get into them, and they kind of stick you in a specific category, or you're doing a specific division on every large job. And with Plano-Coudon, I realized it was small, and I wanted to be a more well-rounded project manager. As a project manager here, you're able to see things in the business development side. You're able to deal with proposals. You're able to do interviews. You're dealing with the construction as well, like if you get to that point, but you're also dealing with the pre-con and the closeout. And I think that itself makes for a very well-rounded project manager. Again, I don't think you get that in a lot of the larger companies. For me, I also came and, a lot of the things I remember, and I often tell this story, even in our Plano-Coudon, we have like a little history thing going on, in that, when I first started, we were a lot smaller in 2007 than we are in
Mm-hmm.
We won, and we used to always get together. At lunchtime, everybody would grab their lunch and go into the boardroom, and it wasn't many of us. I think it was 8 or 9 p.m. So we would all sit and watch TV while we ate our lunch. And I remember vividly, a lot of the people like Brett and Ryan, our owners, and the PMs back then, Tom and Cliff and Andy, talking about what they were doing with their kids, and some of those decisions that they were making back then in 2007, I'm kind of making now, like whether I'm gonna put my kid in soccer or put her in swim class, and some of those decisions with schools and things like that. So for me, it's become a family. I enjoy being here, everything about it, the guidance, the family oriented. You can do what you need to do to take care of your family, as long as you're doing what you need to do to take care of your job as well. And I really appreciate the fact that, I have a company or working for a company that's allowed me to do that over the course of the years.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds, from the outset looking in, it sounds like a great company culture for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned, in your 14 years, you've kind of risen up the ranks a little bit. I'm just curious, have you gotten the chance to work with young people, interns, apprentices? And if so, what do you think that the industry should be doing to entice young people to get into the industry?
So I've gotten to work with a lot of project engineers and kind of guide them into being PMs. Some of them are left, some of them are still here. In my position as a PX, I'm working with other PMs. And then, we also go to, college fairs, and we look for young engineers that are willing to come into our company and grow. So I've done a lot of that. And, one thing that I always, I guess, would tell them is, coming into this, I guess you're not going to know everything, and just make sure you're willing to open yourself up and learn. But the biggest thing to entice them to come to construction, I would think, would be just letting high school kids and the different college kids realize that just more so high school kids, that going the engineering path, getting the engineering degree isn't the only way to get in construction. There's a lot of trade schools out there that are really good, and we need plumbers, we need electricians, and you can make just as good of a life in that going that trade school route that you could just become an engineer. Schooling isn't for everybody, and I think we have to just make sure kids understand that and are willing to focus on their strengths and go the route that makes the most sense for them.
Yeah, I think that's vastly important. And, here at MCCEI and with Build Your Path, we have this pathways graphic where we show, you can start out high school, GED, what have you, work your way all the way up to a business owner. So there's not one set pathway. There's definitely many options out there.
I agree.
And then I like to finish every podcast just to give a plug to your company. So if people want to learn more about Plano-Coudon, maybe they're looking to get an internship, anything like that, where can they go?
So Plano-Coudon, our website is pcbuilds.com. On that website, you can go into, there's a section or a tab that you can go in to apply to our company. We also, you can reach out to me. My email is drichardson@pcbuilds.com. Or, we, for those college students, we're always at the college fairs. We go to, Morgan State's College Fair, Virginia Tech, University of Maryland, College Park. We make sure we get around to get to a lot of the schools like Penn State as well. And, if you wanted to get an internship with Plano-Coudon, feel free to reach out to me. We have an HR department. You can reach out to the company, or you can, go through our website. But, I hate to always tell people to go through the website. If you could reach out to somebody, the contact that you have
personally, right?
Personal contact. So there's plenty of people here at Plano-Coudon to reach out to that's willing to help you wherever you need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Darryl. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Build Your Path podcast or the built environment overall, go ahead and visit buildyourpath.org. Another big thank you to our guest, Darryl Richardson from Plano-Coudon. Once again, this episode was brought to you by CapEx Advisory Group. Build Your Path podcasts are produced by the Maryland Center for Construction, Education, and Innovation. I'm Matt Pine. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.